Now, speaking of Marjorie, her breakup with the MAGA world continues, and she announced that she's resigning from Congress in January. Let's watch that.
Standing up for American women who were raped at 14 years old, trafficked and used by rich, powerful men should not result in me being called a traitor and threatened by the President of the United States. I do not want my sweet district to have to endure a hurtful and hateful primary against me by the President that we all fought for, only to fight and win my election while Republicans will likely lose the midterms.
I just disagreed with her philosophy. She started backing perhaps the worst Republican congressman in our history, this stupid person named Massey. And I said, go your own way. And once I left her, she resigned because she would never have survived a primary. But I think she's a nice person.
So what do you think about her decision to step down?
I had mixed feelings about this because as a voting member of Congress, as feckless as Congress may seem, as unpopular as it is, you do have some power in it, and it feels like she's bowing out of the fight too quickly. Like, we've really applauded her that she has been a leading force on getting the Epstein files out. I watched the press conference where the female survivors were praising her and thanking her for her bravery and standing beside them. And we now know that the Department of Justice has a 30-day window to turn over these files to Congress, which will bring us to about mid-late December. She's now resigning in early January from her seat. But we all expect DOJ is going to stonewall. So you're getting out of the fight before the fight is over.
Well, she's getting threats.
And I understand that. And, like, candidly, a lot of us who've been on the other side of Trump and who've also agreed with him at some points in time, that comes with the territory. This is a woman who also voted with him 98% of the time.
Yeah, but by the way, let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Would she be getting those threats if he hadn't called her a traitor?
I think she was probably getting threats before that, too. I can't imagine anyone right now in the public that isn't getting, sadly, threats. I don't know if...
It's part of the environment. I think he added fuel to the fire. I understand it, but that's my critique of it, is like, you've got it. You have power in Congress that as a private citizen you're not going to have. One thing she talked about was potentially reading the client list on the House floor because she'd be protected by immunity. She's going to be giving that up. Now, there's a lot of speculation. Is she going to run for Senate? Is she going to run for governor? Is she maybe considering running for president? And that's interesting. I think it's interesting that we're already talking about who is the heir apparent when Trump becomes a lame duck. And maybe it is her. But I always think you're better positioned to be in leadership when you're in an elected office representing your constituents.
So, Sunday, do you think she has an ulterior motive like that?
Yes. Look, she's a big age. She's in her 50s. And I think people that are big ages don't just change miraculously overnight. They just change their behaviors to get what they want. That's just
You're saying 50-year-olds don't change? My shrink said to me, you're a baby when I was 50.
Yeah, no. That's just my belief. I think it's a pretty big age to all of a sudden have a miraculous, 180. I think that she's going to run for Senate. It's pretty clear that by leaving Congress now, she can distance herself from the losses that will undoubtedly happen in 2026. I think the Democrats are going to take over the House. Marjorie Taylor Greene herself has predicted it. There's Congressman Collins. He's under investigations now. He's someone that's running to, I think he's going to primary John Ossoff in Georgia. So there's a Republican opportunity in Georgia.
Ossoff is very popular.
Yes, but I think she wants to be senator. It's been reported that she went to Trump and asked for his backing to run for Senate, and he didn't give her his backing, and that's part of sort of this turnaround. So I just don't believe her. If you think about it, she came here, she talked about SNAP benefits and her constituents and the Affordable Care Act. Well, she voted for the big, beautiful bill.
Yeah.
She knew very well that the Affordable Care Act was going to be gutted. So I think that she's someone who's pretty clever, a little more clever than I gave her credit for, and she's going to run for Senate, governor, or the presidency.
People call me naive, but I give her the benefit of the doubt. And I do think
Marjorie Taylor Greene?
Yeah, I do. I do think that the Charlie Kirk assassination was an aha moment for her.
In terms of?
In terms of, do I really want to be part of this horrible political climate and of the polarization and the weaponizing of government and of speech and all of that stuff? I also think she could have served one more year if she wanted, right? Her term is not over until January of 2027. I
So now
think
what
if she
happens
runs
to that seat now?
that's
Special
it's a special election.
So
She-
a Democrat could win.
No,
No,
it's
not in
that
that
seat.
seat.
Her
Like an
seat
R+30
is plus
district.
20. In other words, there's 20 points more Republicans than there are Democrats in that seat, which is why a Republican primary is what basically determines who's going
gonna
to
win.
win.
I see.
I don't think she gets out of the problem of being on the other side of Trump in a Republican primary if she runs as a Republican for Senate. And we have seen time and time again what being on the other side of Trump means for somebody in elected office.
But didn't Kemp go against Trump and then win in Georgia?
Yeah, but he didn't. He
Kemp's
didn't
very
target
different,
Trump. Trump didn't target Kemp the way he targeted Liz Cheney, for example,
Or
in
Mike
a primary.
Pence.
Yeah.
And,
Well, that's
but
different.
you know, to me, one of the ironic things is one of the things that Trump attacked her on was coming on The View. So he apparently that was like the last nail on the coffin.
That really hurt her a lot. So I'd like to take
Well, no,
this
but-
moment
right.
to invite Trump to come on.
Well, I'd like to take this moment to remind Trump that his daughter Ivanka has been on 6 times. Melania has been on 4 times. One, she was a guest co-host. Ivana Trump was on 2 times. Donald Trump Jr. has been on when he was hawking his book.
I was there for
Even
that.
Marla Maples has been on 1 time, the second ex. So if being on The View is such a bad thing, maybe he should start by saying it to his family over Thanksgiving.
So the Marjorie Taylor Greene of it all, I think the extent of her clever was getting out while she's on top. So she just had a big win with this Epstein thing, and arguably, Alyssa, I know it's not done, but I do think if Trump goes against her, whether she loses the primary or just has to endure, years long of this, she doesn't need it. She's wealthy. She
did make $25 million.
Right, but the other thing is I do concede and give her a little bit of the benefit of the doubt that she's burned out by what this is all about. For the longest time, she sat on the side of we have a common enemy, that's how we win elections, and we hate the other side. When she started to see daylight and could see some reconciliation, like some parts she might have agreed on, the loyalty ended for her.
Yeah.
So she no longer had a team. She does not identify as she's very conservative. So she is a Republican.
And Democrats don't give her much grace.
Right, and the Republicans have left her homeless.
Yeah, but
so I think at that point, you leave while you're ahead. I don't necessarily think she wants to do politics. Who would in this day and age?
actually
My
think
thing
she
is,
does.
unless she's fading into oblivion, my guess is she's going to want to be out there on TV and be
I
a
think
voice.
she'll be public.
You're going to get the same hate from Donald Trump. The only difference is you don't have to run a primary. So, this is not a judgment of her. I'm not talking about her motives or impugning them. I really enjoyed having a conversation with her when she was here. But there's a power you have in Congress, which I just feel like she's walking away from too quickly.
Well, don't you
stay
think
in the
that?
fight.
But don't you think that she sees the writing on the wall that the Trump administration is going down the
She
tube?
sees that
she
the
sees
government
that.
fails all of us. The way they do primaries elects the most extreme candidate on both sides. Independents and people that are more down the middle are let down every election. And then they all take dirty money and they vote partisan.
Joy, were you
and there's nothing left for the people.
Were you
Right,
surprised
quickly.
that since 2021, when she joined Congress, that she made $25 million?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but people, they're greedy, these people. They want more, more, more. I look at these billionaires. They can't seem to make enough money. They actually believe they're never going to die.
For her,
So you're
25
saying
million
it's
is
pretty
enough.
lucrative to be in Congress.